Good Morning Brew Daily Show. I'm Neal Freyman.
And I'm Toby Howell.
So we are off today because it is Monday before the 4th of July, but we have another special episode in store for you. If you have followed Morning Brew on social media or YouTube, you will be really excited for our guest. And if not, you should still be very excited.
Today, we are getting to know Dan Toomey. Dan makes some of the most hilarious videos we've ever seen, skewering work culture and the business world. He's been with the Brew since 2020 and recently launched his own franchise called Good Work. We're going to talk to Dan about his comedy career, the creator economy, and his go-to Dunkin' order. Today is Monday, July 3rd. Let's ride. All right, gentlemen, to start off this interview, I actually want to take us back to August 18th of 2020, where I got a DM from Alex Lieberman on Slack, the co-founder of Morning Brew, saying, I want to get your eyes on something. Tell me what you think about this. That something was a self-tape of young Dan Toomey auditioning for a role at Morning Brew.
Sure, I was 8. It was very inappropriate.
He was 8 years old. It was this awesome video, but I actually have my response that I replied to Alex with that I'm going to read here, slightly edited for length. Wow, that was a wild ride. I legit laughed out loud. Would have to tone it down a bit, but I think he's pretty polished. He clearly put a lot of time into it, so I give him props for that. And here's the kicker. Overall, 7 out of 10, because some jokes didn't really land.
All right, big guy.
Listen, I'm not sure if I almost tanked your career before it began or if I launched it.
7 out of 10?
7
Are
out
you
of
kidding?
10.
That was a good video.
I gave you props, though. I gave you a lot of props.
What do you mean? What do you mean? What did you mean by tone it down? I didn't make any like offensive jokes.
I think at that
don't
time,
think.
I thought that Morning Brew was a much more polished brand than it was.
You ran the Twitter. That was the least polished thing about the company.
I want Dan's review of Toby.
I know. I just couldn't believe that I had.
It was 6.5 now.
Okay.
All this to say that it's kind of crazy that we're sitting here now. That's where I guess it all started. That was the first time I laid eyes on you, and now we're sitting on these couches together.
Now
Right,
look at
Dan.
us.
You impressed Toby a lot, but we have a bunch of questions to ask you.
I know you have pages.
I have pages. All right, here we go.
This is the best we're gonna ever get to know each other, fellas.
Absolutely.
Dudes never ask this many questions to each other.
true.
before.
Heart to heart.
I know, we're about to get real deep. So our first question, Dan, I want to imagine we're at a party, okay? And I don't know you, but we start with the small talk, and it's classic New York City. We eventually land on the question, so what do you do for work? How do you typically respond to that
I
question?
think at this party we have mics and headphones. We're
yeah.
sitting at a couch. I say I'm a comedian. That's why I say now. When I first started this job, I had no idea.
Right.
Because I didn't know. Like, it wasn't even like mostly comedic stuff either. It was just a lot of just making videos. And so I said like, oh, I make videos. I would always do. I work for this company called Morning Brew, and it was like one.
Sometimes that hits, though. You have to admit.
So when people know it, yeah.
Exactly.
But like I'm still at this phase where like I'll be like, it's this company called, like, it seems like a burden. To
Your voice,
explain them.
your inflection of your voice goes up.
Even my face, I'm just like, you can leave if you want this conversation. You don't have to be here for this. But then I said I would like make videos for them.
Yeah.
And then what was funny was that when I first started this job, I was living at my parents' place back in Massachusetts, and so most of those questions would come from like their friends,
Right.
and they'd be like, you make videos. What does that mean?
What
I'd
is
be
a
like,
video?
I make like TikToks for them, and then their heads would explode.
And then they go, what's a TikTok?
Yeah,
right?
they'd be like, what's
Yeah.
a TikTok? And then they just kept me under the stairs like Harry Potter.
Let's jump to the before times a little bit. What were you doing before Morning Brew? And did you have kind of career goals at that point? And have they changed at all since you've joined Morning Brew?
This is great. This isn't even like a conversation podcast. This
It's
is just
therapy.
question.
This is therapy.
This is awesome. Before Morning Brew, I studied journalism. I was a journalism major at the University of Southern California.
California.
And yeah, I worked for a year in politics, doing political journalism in Washington, D.C. Before that. So graduated class of 2020, was super unemployed for a little bit, and then got a job over in D.C. Did that for about 9 months, all the while like talking to you guys and maybe figuring something out, and then eventually came over here.
Was the goal comedy, or do you think the goal was that always a long-term
Did
goal?
you want to be like a Brian Williams?
No.
Well, Brian Williams
It did end
pre-scandal.
too. I would love to. My favorite thing about Brian Williams is that apparently he would wear like the. Sorry, I was told not to touch my mic so much. He would wear the ties. Like people would send him ties, and he would wear them.
That's cool.
I love that.
So during your time in DC, when you were, who were you working for again?
I was working for ABC News.
ABC News. It was kind of an eventful time, right? And there was a particular January day in 2021 where you had quite an eventful situation. Do you mind walking us through that?
I mean, maybe if you want to hear about it.
I do.
No, it was January 6th. Yeah, and I worked the. All right, yeah, I worked the overnight shift at ABC News, so I worked from midnight to 8 every day. Well, we would rotate, but at that particular time, I was on from midnight to 8. And we had seen protests leading up to that before. So when people started to come out, we heard that there was going to be a rally, and we were like, oh, that's just like all these other rallies that have happened. We like keep eyes on it. And I was the only one in the newsroom that night. Because that's like during COVID, it was like pretty much only young people could be in the office like with each other.
Yeah.
Because people were still worried. And so I was the only one in the office at like 3:30 in the morning. And we would see ralliers start to like trickle in, and I'd be like, oh, we should keep eyes on this. And then like more people started to come in, and then I left. It was 8 a.m. and people like there were some people who were still on like the sidewalks and pouring into the city and coming out of the train station. But like that was the end of my shift, and so I was like, all right, I'm gonna go home now. I think you guys got this one. And then I went home and I fell asleep, and then I woke up to a phone call at 2 p.m., which was like 2 a.m. for me. It was my brother, and he was just like, "They took the Capitol," and I was like, "What does that mean?" And then my favorite part of this whole thing was you start watching it on the news, and like it was just insane. I was like, "Oh, I got to get to work tonight because like I still have I have to do this, and I'm not gonna like walk there because I live pretty far away from our offices, which were near the Capitol building." And so I called an Uber, and in 2 seconds, I got an Uber, like right into the middle of a scene. And I was like, "Can you drive me in?" And he was like, "Yeah, man,
I don't see why
let's
not."
do it." So we were just like weaving in between protesters, and then eventually, I just like slept in a hotel room that they put me in for like a day, and then worked the rest of it. But I also met a lot of my colleagues for the first time that day,
Really?
because everybody came in because it was like the biggest news story aside from the election. And it was like all hands on deck. So I'd be meeting people on the day of the January 6th riots and be like, "I'm Dan. I'm really trying to work my hardest here." And they'd be like, "Shut up." So, yeah.
What a story. Like, what a moment in history to be entering your first job in and like working the night shift.
And then a month later, I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to go join this company, Morning Brew."
I make TikToks.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's move on to kind of the creative process. Do you mind walking us through your creative process? Like, how do you come up with your ideas for your videos? And then how do you go from idea in Dan's head to like a finished product?
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of it is just like when I joined, again, there wasn't really like a whole model for what we do now, I guess, at least at Morning Brew. I don't know what it was like at other companies, but even when I graduated, being like a quote unquote creator, that wasn't like a job, you know? And then when I joined, all I knew was like late night. Like that's what I really looked up to. And so I tried to model my day after what I knew a late night writer's schedule to be, or what I assumed their schedule was like. I've never worked there before, but I was like, I'm going to get up in the morning, read the news. By like 9 a.m., I'm going to have like 4 pitches for videos. And then I'll send them to our editor, and she'll be like, 3 of these are garbage, and 1 of these might work out. And then I would write that one. We would film it, or I would write it. I would send her the script, get her approval on it, film it, edit it, and then get it out by like 2 p.m. And we did that Monday through Friday every day for like probably like 8 months, I would say, until.
And you're filming this all yourself.
Yeah.
And editing it all yourself.
Yeah.
In your apartment too, for the most part.
In your
And
large
Toby-
apartment above Carbone.
Yeah.
Toby had seen that. Toby had seen that apartment.
Like, your bed is in your living room, which is also your kitchen.
He pitied me so much. You ever seen that meme of like Hillary Clinton walking in like an apartment and being horrified as to how small it is? That was Toby entering my West Village apartment.
It was beautiful.
Toby was my Hillary Clinton. He was like, "You live like this.
The
Do
location.
you have my vote?"
So how do you come up with your ideas? Like what is a good idea and what is not a good idea? How do you filter that through your brain?
I literally do. I never know
Oh.
what. Actually, no, that's a lie. Sometimes you will know. You're like, oh, this is going to be great. But those are like, I would say more rare than I think what a lot of people expect, because most people don't see the fact that, especially through those first 8 months, probably 99.5% of what I pitched got rejected, or it was a video that bombed. And at the time, it feels like super consequential. And you're like, oh, this is so emotionally damaging that like what I tried to do. The first comment I ever got on a video that I posted for Morning Brew, it was on Twitter. We posted it. And this was like our first like foray into comedy. My first time being like a on-screen presence for Morning Brew. The comment got maybe I think 12 likes. And the only comment was a guy who posted a GIF of an overweight baseball player swinging at a T-ball stand, missing and tripping. And his comment was, swing and a miss. And I was like, what a start. Actually, you know what?
12 likes.
Covering January 6th overnight sounds a lot better than this.
Than a swing and a miss.
But that's a good segue, because I wanted to know about how you balance sort of like your mental health when you're you're laughing, but no, but it's a serious
a
question.
balance?
And when your career compared to so many others is so tied to approval on the internet, and you must like. Whenever I have a tweet that gets more than like 15 likes, all I can do is refresh Twitter or Instagram or whatever, and it messes with my whole day.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your job, is to garner views and likes and retweets and things like that. So have you sort of developed a mechanism for shutting it off or kind of separating yourself from that?
I've tried to, definitely in the past. I would say, like, dude, I'm probably as addicted to my phone as like a smoker is to cigarettes now. Like, and straight up, like, I will be in public and I'll just like start checking it, and I'm like, why am I on Instagram? Like, I have no idea why I'm on this right now. I used to, like, whenever I would post something, I would try to like walk away for like an hour and do something else. But then I quickly learned that actually hurts like the performance of the video. Is that if people comment on it, you want to like reply to it. So the the casino of social media is literally designed for you to stay on the app immediately and be addicted to it. Obviously, I think therapy helps. Like, it's very important to like have somebody to talk to. And so balancing mental health, though, is very tough when so much of like what you do is geared to metrics. Like, think back to late night. It's like you had one metric to go off of, which was views, and that was it for like a certain demographic, and that was it. And now it's like you post a video, and you are given more data than ever before. And like I was talking to a few comics last night who were just like, did you know if you film at this frame rate, then it's actually more likely to go viral because like the eye is more keen to this. And I was like, what? Like, comedians are like forced to just look at all this data, and it's not healthy when you analyze it that much, which goes to show that like the mental health balance, it's really just a matter of like, unfortunately, doing it enough to the point where you get like a little bit, like a little bit numb to the feeling, and you're just like, okay, like
That truly is, you once the views get bigger, it paradoxically becomes like easier to not check them as much because when you're in like you've had videos go extremely viral, and when you're in the hundreds of thousands, millions of territory, like each individual one is not as much of a dopamine hit.
No, you're right. But I mean, and like Twitter is the same thing. It's just all just like dopamine straight to the veins, but it's not like dopamine that like feels good, like hanging out with people. It's a very solitary form of dopamine, because you're just in your room, just getting affirmation from a screen that's the size of like a matchbox. Like, it's not conducive to healthy living. Being a creator is great, guys. If you're thinking of doing it, you should definitely do it. It's great.
Do you ever look back on the early videos from Morning Brew and say like, oh my gosh, I've evolved so much as a creator? I assume you do, but like, take us through.
I'd really try not to rewatch.
You don't go back?
I rewatch like videos that I made like probably like a week ago, but
Yeah.
early stuff. No, I really don't want to do that.
Well,
They were funny.
That sounds terrible.
I know, but
They
what
were really funny.
I just can't. Like, I can't do it. It's like, oh no.
But you do review your own work. I see you edit it. You must hear your own voice more than anybody else because you are your own editor.
Hell yeah, brother.
So you are just listening to yourself like 6 hours a day while you're editing. And I can't even listen to my own podcast once for fear of just freaking out. So,
But I think that's different than watching you from like a year ago. Like when you're editing, you're trying to like really perfect something so you can like ultimately publish it, and you're seeing the rough draft. But it's I mean, like, maybe I'll go back and watch like one of like the really early hits that we've had, but again, like there have been a lot of bombs, man, and which again is just part of the process.
Yeah.
But I think revisiting those would just be like, ooh, like I hope that I would be better now, and you know, I don't want to, like, I don't know if I'm going to be inspired, but I don't really know what the point would be, you know?
Yeah.
so you said you were a creator, and I kind of want to like zero in on that word a little bit because a lot has been written. You winced for all the people just listening, but it is. Do you say that word with pride? Do you wish you could be something else? And sort of where do you see yourself in this broader creator economy that has, you know, come up recently? And just to define it, I guess it's that, you know, social media and various other tools have sort of empowered individuals to create their own brands online, and we don't know what else to call them, so we call them creators because they create things.
Yeah. I think that I go back and forth on the term a ton. What I will say, like, first and foremost, having worked in more traditional media throughout college and then in my first year out of college, I think that the creator economy, the blessing of it is that it opens doors for more people than would be traditionally allowed in you know, the media that we're used to, because people can build their own platforms. And previously, like, you would have to know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy who like was probably like paid off by your parents. So, but what's great about this is that more people than ever are able to just kind of like come up on their own just by being active in publishing their own material. And I really do believe in how important it is to make your own things. I think that's one of the most important skills anybody in media can develop today, is just knowing how to like publish and create your own content, or at least be a part of the creation process. So that, I think, is the blessing of it. The curse of the whole like creator title is that, like, what does that even mean? You know, like, creator is such a vague term. And I feel like that's kind of on purpose, and where I can sometimes feel like it's exploitive for people who are hired in that position, is that they turn around and they're like, I'm being asked to make a podcast, make a video, write my scripts, edit these videos, and then also have like a line of merch that I need to design it. It's like, not everybody, you shouldn't be, that's so much for one person. So I think that it's an amazing opportunity that more people than ever before have had right now, but it also requires you, when you step into that role, to define your parameters a bit and be like, look, this is what I want to do. That's a really important thing too, is like knowing what you want to do ultimately, rather than what other people will ask you to do as part of your job. Because if you're a creator, they're going to ask you to do, like, you know, as many tasks as possible, because they're like, well, you're a creator, you create, isn't that? Which is just like unfair to be hired for, you know? So
I mean, I guess following up on that, you exist in kind of this weird liminal space of, you are your own personal brand. Like, you have Dan Toomey, you have a large following on Instagram, but then you're also under the Morning Brew umbrella. Yeah. What is it kind of like existing as a creator underneath an organization versus just being like a pure creator on your own?
At Morning Brew, it is abusive. It is fully abusive. They treat me horribly.
And I just saw the recording go red.
The first time I keep a muzzle on when I'm not on camera. It's terrible. This is the first time I've talked to people in months. I will keep going on this bit for 20 minutes.
Keep going. Keep going.
What I have loved about working here was that when I started, I had like no following at all. And it was like shocking to people that I was like making videos. They're like, oh, you're doing this, huh? And so, but I was able to like be bad for a while and also practice at it, which was like props to, you know, Toby thinking I was like terrible in my
7 out of 10,
but
baby.
props to some people having a little more faith in me than Toby did. And I've really enjoyed that. Like, I'm a very risk averse person. So I was like, I enjoy working at a company where I'm able to like practice consistently, and like give me time to get better. which, I really do think it probably took like a year and a half until I was fully comfortable in the job of being like, okay, I know how to make a video now. I know what stories we should cover. I know when there's an opportunity to make like a really good video about something. So I've enjoyed the security of that and just kind of like the support system,
right. Kind of like a trust fall. Like when you fall, there is kind of a very comfortable bed of feathers.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Which is Toby's hair.
Yeah, I just fall on Toby every
Beautiful.
day. Whenever I have a video that bombs, Toby he cradles me like an infant.
I say, come here.
He has a little Bjorn that he carries me around in, and I just
Come hither.
I'm curious how social media. You're also a comedian. You're doing a lot of stand-up shows around the city, right? How has social media changed that industry? Like, why are you doing stand-up shows for 30 people when you could be taking that time to make a video?
I've done it for far less people than 30.
Well, why are you doing it for 30 people when you could essentially make a video and reach millions of people at the same time? Like, what value do you find in that? And what kind of conversations are you having with other comedians about how TikTok and Instagram have completely disrupted the industry?
Yeah, dude. Man, I did a show last night at a startup. And
wait, like a startup hired you?
It's like a corporate show.
Yeah.
I get there. Our offices are in Williamsburg. It's like
I know it.
It's like Kendall Roy's basement is what this office looked like. And we get up
beautiful.
And we get there, and this is the most startup thing ever. Like they have like video game controllers in the office. They have more beanbags than like lawyers, right? And you get there, and the only stage that they had was just like this little tiny like thing, and then they go, "Oh yeah, we don't have a mic for you guys."
Just
like,
yell.
what?
Just
So
yell.
they just gave me 3 Topo Chicos, and then they were just like, "Get on stage." So I got on stage with no mic, just like delivering a TED talk to this crowd of like 22 people. None of them wanted to be there at all.
No.
They like it was like a poor. I'm sorry, this was not your question at all, but it was just, I was like, "Oh man, we got to go up from here."
I think it does speak. That is kind of answering the question a little bit. Like when you're making a video, you have all your props. You can edit it to make yourself look the way you want to look. Versus stand up, sometimes all you got is 3 Topo Chicos, so it's a much more raw art form.
But it chisels you for the future.
Sometimes you have a lot less than that. 3 Topo Chicos
That's
is nice.
pretty good,
Right?
yeah.
I've paid money to do stand up. Here's the thing. I think like there are. If I had to write like a book about comedy now, it would be called "Everybody's In and There Are No Rules," because social media has introduced more people to the idea that they could be comedians than ever before. And that has led to a lot of people, when you think, oh, okay, I want to be a comedian, what should I go do? Your mind just goes to stand up. It doesn't immediately go to like making videos, because traditionally that's not your idea of what comedy is. For a lot of people, they go, I'm going to move to New York and I'm going to be a stand-up comedian. It is a completely different art form than making videos. What I love about making videos is like you mentioned earlier, I edit all of my things, and there are like different jokes you can hide in the editing. And like that's a completely different art form than stand-up, where it's just you on stage and you're telling jokes. But then you can also mix up stand-up, like Bo Burnham. Like he would sing songs, and he would have all of these, it would be like a performance too. And like I have a buddy, Jack Reichert, who he has like a whole like musical instrument thing that he does at the end. So it's like a lot more fluid, I think. And you can use a lot of like skills that you have in video editing to inform stand up and to like make it a little more interesting if you want. Or there are some people who are just killer stand up comedians. That's all they got to do is just stand up on stage. Going back to what you said about like how has social media impacted it, you see a lot of trends where people will just upload like crowd work and that will help them go viral, which other people have opinions of. I'm just like, hey man, if that's what helps you, then like go for it. Again, there are no rules to any of this stuff. But there are more people than ever doing stand up, because they're like, oh, I went viral for this impression on Instagram. I got to go be a stand-up comedian now, which is like, it's just so different. And like, props to you if you're going to try it, you know, but it's a fascinating time. It's definitely way different than it was like, when I was doing it 20 years ago. Very different. Back when we were over at Zappy's listening to Joey Steaks give it to the crowd.
Love that. All right. I think final question for you, Toomey, before we wrap up with a couple of rapid fire, but final big question.
This was so fun. It's already over.
All right, we're getting there. We still got more left.
Okay.
What is kind of the holy grail for you? Like, what do you think you're building towards? Is it, I don't know, a spot on SNL? Is it you want to go to Hollywood? Is it a lead writer on a comedy show? Like, do you have a North Star, or are you just you're just toiling away?
This
one
is a
video at
job
time?
interview right now.
Yeah, right.
Careful what you say.
Yeah, I'm trying to leave Morning Brew, dude. I'm trying to get out of this ball and chain. I don't know. What's interesting is that when I graduated college, I had no idea that this is the job that I would be working in. And this wasn't even like a goal of mine. I thought that I wasn't going to work in comedy when I graduated. Every year I would apply for a late night internship, like literally consistently freshman to senior year. And I got rejected every single year. So like when I graduated, I kind of just gave up and I was like, well, I guess I'm not going to do it. And then this is just kind of ended up happening. So I try to like have a vague idea of what my 5-year goal is, but never be too married to it. Because if I stuck to my 5-year goal when I was a senior, I would not be here.
Right. I think we can all say that, by the way, too. Like,
Yeah.
no one, the fact that we're all sitting here is a miracle. And
I have zero 1 week goals.
Yeah. I don't even know what I'm going to do tomorrow, man.
Exactly. But yeah, continue.
But yeah, I mean, like in terms of what I want to do in the future, I always just try to see it as a scaled up version of what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
So I do stand up, I write scripts, and I make videos. And if I could just do that on like a larger scale, maybe with a bit more resources, but to like work on a show, to host live shows myself.
The Dan Toomey show.
I do want to do
I didn't see it.
before we go to the rapid fire. I do want to do a quick, not so subtle plug for your new franchise that you're building, which is called Good Work.
Good work. Yes.
Do you want to tell the people what that is and sort of what the concept behind it is and what they can expect?
This is like Hot Ones. If you make it to the end of the interview, you can give your plug.
You can plug it.
Good Work is
I'm actually
Good Work is the only fake business news outlet that you need to know. We cover everything from meetings to LinkedIn to why every celebrity has a product now. I wear a trench coat sometimes in the videos. It's produced by me and Henry Stockwell, who's a hilarious writer and a very good friend of mine. And you can find us on YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and TikTok as Good Work MB.
But what's the point? You mentioned some of the examples, but the point of it is kind of like to skewer work and business culture.
Sure.
You're like, I didn't really write it. I just wrote you a mission
Yeah,
statement.
that's great, man. That's awesome.
Okay.
It has been
I
pretty.
think we're trying to figure that out.
It's been very successful, and I think it kind of talks about a lot of the unspoken things, like why is LinkedIn so weird? It's kind of, we all kind of beat around the bush and we don't really talk about it, but you kind of nailed it. And I think what makes these videos so successful is that you actually, in between all of the jokes, you offer very insightful commentary and ask a question and then answer it.
My favorite thing about them is that like we've gotten amazing guests, and I don't know how these people have said yes to the show, but like we've had 3 New York Times reporters. We had Derek Thompson on the show. We had Kyle Cook from Bravo's Summer House on the show. And I'm like, it's amazing that you guys are willing to do this.
Just wait, man.
It's not like we're like Eric Andre where we're like gonna like bully people.
Right.
But,
One time you might even get Toby and me. I don't know.
One time. Right now, you guys are giving me like a 6 out of 10 for this performance.
7.5.
Up those
You
numbers.
can, during these next questions, you could bump it up to a ceiling of an 8.
I can't wait to see how many, like, what do you guys measure your podcast by? Downloads?
Downloads, baby.
How many downloads this one gets
I
compared
think
to
at least 10s to maybe 20s.
It depends on whether you promote it or not. To be honest.
Family's
we are
gonna-
in your.
Family's going to gather around the radio, the radio on July 4th and be like, we got to listen to this one.
Yeah, it'll be
Some
like
dads-
it'd be like Winston Churchill in 1942. Like, come on,
Some
everybody.
dad's yelling at his kids.
All right,
Listen, it's
first
important.
rapid fire question: Kiss, marry, kill. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube.
Wait, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Kiss, marry, kill.
Yes.
Got it.
This
Okay.
is PG.
Okay. Little. Okay. KKM. Kiss, marry, kill. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. And this is a rapid fire question
Where
where I have to answer.
and you're out of time.
Right.
So
Oh.
sorry. Yeah.
Where I have to answer in a rapid fashion.
I'm watching the downloads. go down right
I
now.
marry YouTube, kiss Instagram, kill TikTok.
Wow.
Ooh. I thought TikTok gives you the greatest chance to go viral, though.
Not anymore, man.
Not anymore.
Yeah.
Not anymore. And
Instagram.
I'm just in it for the virality. That's
Plus, Dan
it.
thinks
Sorry,
it's an-
babe.
There it is.
Plus, Dan thinks it's a national security threat.
I do. Yeah.
All right. Next rapid fire question: who is the comedian that you most admire?
I hate this question. I really do.
Okay, then who's the comedian you would want to open for?
Like if I name like some random Brooklyn comedian, you got I don't know.
All right. Well,
Okay,
You're
then name
making
one.
this really difficult.
Name one that everyone knows, but that you also admire.
Who I would want to open for. I was listening to Nate Bargatze this morning, so Nate Bargatze
Nate Bargatze.
would be a great one. Yeah.
There you go.
Dan hates us now.
You're up next, Neal. What's our next?
That's just such a stressful question. I just there's too many people.
Yeah. All right. If you could give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be?
Sleep is really important. Sleep.
You're talking to some people.
Yeah, I was gonna say. That was just advice for you too. Sleep is very important. Yeah, that's my biggest one. Sleep.
All right, that's actually solid.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, so what did you think I was gonna do?
No, I mean
Nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be something. I don't know. I'm gonna take that to heart there.
All right.
All right. We know you're a big mass guy. Hit us with your go-to Dunkin' order.
Medium ice black.
That's it?
Yep.
Keep it simple?
Yeah, and if they can't, dude, one time I walked in and I said medium ice, because usually that's what you just say, like medium ice, and it was at the one down the street, right? And I just hit your lamp. I'm sorry. And the woman was so confused. She was like, "Really? You sure?" And I was like, "Yeah, it's just medium ice." And then she looks at me, turns around, fills up a cup of ice. And he turns back around like she was like gifting it to me. She was,
This is all you want?
and I was like, of course not. No, that's not what. So I didn't know that was a Massachusetts thing. Also, a Massachusetts Dunkin' is the only place I've ever been to where I was at the drive-thru and I asked for a medium ice. I think I got like a donut or something, and they went, "All right, why?" What? I was like, "What?" He goes, "Why you want that?" And I was like, "Oh, because I'm hungry. It's early in the morning." He goes, "All right, good enough." I was like, "What happened if I gave you a bad answer? Would you just say like, 'Oh, sorry, man, you got to turn around. You got to work on that pitch again'?"
Asking for a donut in a Massachusetts Dunkin' is like asking a comedian who is your favorite comedian. So we're going to note those down.
Yeah.
I would have been like, well, I guess I don't now.
Yeah, I guess.
And then just back out.
I guess I'm not worthy.
Absolutely.
All right. Final question. What is Future Dan doing on July 4th?
Because this is coming out on July 3rd, actually.
What's Future Dan?
Because we're recording this in June.
But you mean like this year, July 4th?
Yeah, what
I
are
thought
your
you meant like
plans?
2098.
No, what are your plans? Are you coming to my party?
I won't be alive at 2090. I'll be so dead.
The Google Pod.
Yeah, I'll be. Yeah, I'm hanging out with you. I'm hanging out with you guys.
Hell yeah.
July 4th.
Recording a pod.
There we
Record
go.
another episode of this. This is my first episode on The Daily Show.
And coincidentally, it's also your last.
And it's also my last.
There you go.
Dan, how should we rate Dan's performance?
I'm going to bump you up to a 7.
Let it be known to the people listening that I brought donuts, but I cannot show them for legal reasons.
So we're going 10.
You'll have to guess the brand.
You'll have to guess what brand of donut I brought, but I cannot bring them because we were not given approval.
I know.
No. All right. That is our show. Dan, you are welcome every time. You're such a talented comedian or creator or whatever you want to be called.
Thank you.
Happy July 4th, everyone. I hope you have a great few days off here at the beginning of the week. And we'll see you when we see you.